Thank you so much, Mr. Robert Scott. And he makes way for our final presenter, Miss Kimesha Walters.
Good morning, everyone. I have a few questions to ask, and if the answer is yes, I would love for you to just raise your hand or say yes. Have you ever come across a person or a business or a brand that you knew nothing about before, then all of a sudden you start seeing them everywhere? You see them on TV or radio or social media. You start liking them. You start wanting to know what's going on with their company or what's going on with this brand. Why am I seeing them? Okay. That's when you are seen, heard, and remembered. And that's what I do at Oasis Integrated Communications. Now, today I'm here to share a bit of my journey with you, and I hope it will inspire at least one person to make the step and to elevate their lives. So, I grew up in a community in deep rural Clarendon called Prospect. It's a place that I describe as being easy to discouraged and difficult to be inspired. Anybody here from country? Do these pictures on the left ring a bell? Does any of them look familiar? Picking fruits, sitting in front of a shop, checking out a shop to see what's going on there? Yeah, that was my life. I grew up in a one-room board house with 6 brothers. And my father was here every now and then, but we basically raised each other. It was tough. I had to walk a mile downhill in high school. And look at me. I mean, I'm not that old, right? I had to walk a mile downhill to get to the first taxi to get to high school. And in the evening, I had to walk a mile back up the hill to get back home. Some days when there was rain, we had to take off our shoes, cross the stream that went across the road, and then we, of course, would have to bring our rags and our towels and dry our feet again to get back to school. Now, I didn't let any of that stop me, right? I was determined to be seen, heard, and remembered. Now I have a tagline for it associated with my business, but back then it was just a mission. It was an inspiration to do something to stand out, so that would not be my final reality. You hear people talk about how you begin in life, right? And where you are now, like a lot of us are hurting and recovering from Hurricane Melissa. It's not about where we are now. It's about where we are going. So I took all of those examples from Prospect in Clarendon. We're in the middle of the island, and I made a determination to do something different. So I've actually spent a whole lot of time, working on myself, developing myself, and determining what to do. And a few years ago, I migrated to Canada. So that's me there looking all glamorous, but I can tell you, I started my life in Canada living in someone else's living room. I had my own apartment in Jamaica. I had my full independence. I made preparations. By the way, I'm a strategist by design. So I made preparations to get to Canada, right? I had plans with a family member. But when I got there, they switched plans. And so I ended up sleeping on a couch for over a month. Did I let that stop me? No, I didn't, because I was still on my mission to be seen, heard, and remembered. And I put my strategy in place, and next thing I know, here I am, 2-time award-winning entrepreneur in Canada. And what I can tell you from this experience is that winning beats luck every single time. Winning also beats sitting around and waiting on somebody to hand you a promotion, to hand you a new job, or to hand you an upgrade in your life. Every single step of the way, it was about strategy for me. And what that strategy included, it included finding the right people around me, networking, investing myself, knowing that when I was traveling to and from Toronto for 5 to 6 hours a day, right, and getting up in the morning. See what time we came here today? A lot of us were here from about 7. A lot of us were here before 8 because we started at 8. I would see people sleeping on the train. I'd never seen that in my entire life. I was taking a 30-minute commute to work. And here, I had 2 hours in the morning, and sometimes it was 3, 4 hours in the evening to get home. I remember one evening I was going home and it rained. And the bus was so crowded and it was awful. And I held it together just in time to reach in the house, right? But I was still living in the living room. There was a problem. And by the time I got there and sat down, I just burst into tears, because that's not the reality that I was used to in Jamaica. But here, I was starting over. But as I said, strategy. And I can tell you today that strategy beats luck every single time. So on the left is my Mantella Corporation Award win in Canada. There were 243 entrepreneurs across the country, and I won that award. Thank you. And the second picture, I just returned from Canada, where I was awarded as one of the top 100 Black women to watch in the entire country. So I'm very proud of that and happy to be here. So what do I want you to take away today from my experience? Is that you can be global. You're here in a local space, but you can be global. I started my career in journalism, and Dr. Crooklad, it's so good to be here today, because when you launched Make Your Mark, I was one of the reporters from the Jamaica Gleaner at that event. So it's an honor to be here today as well. I've moved through public relations, I've moved through marketing, I've worked with some of the top brands that you can think of in Jamaica as well as Canada, including one of the top 5 banks in Canada, from Adidas, BMO, we have Best Dressed Chicken, Pepsi, Frito-Lay, and I'm one of the reasons you see so many Hyundai Jamaica cars around the city, having done all of that amazing work. Now, it wasn't always a glamorous thing for me, I would say, because I've had to demand and negotiate salary increases. So I can tell you that I went from being underpaid in many instances to multiple upgrades. And I'll tell you more about that in the Q&A session. But it's a big deal, right? Coming from that traumatizing experience of landing in Canada and trying to get jobs and working the commute, that's when I decided to start my own business. And here comes Oasis Integrated Communications. So my reminder for you today, fit in? Never. You can always stand out. And standing out doesn't mean being the loudest person in the room. It doesn't always mean being the best dressed person in the room. You just have to have that confidence. Whatever style it is that you have, make it your statement. And a lot of us have stories that we might not be proud of, but I just told you about my story coming from deep rural Clarendon. So you can understand what I'm saying. Your story can be your strength if you tap into it properly. And of course, your presence. How would people feel? How do you turn up? What do people say about you when you turn and leave that room? And for your competitive edge today, I would like to remind you about self-investment, because that opens you up to endless possibilities. There are online courses now, countless online courses, right? There are industry events, and you should applaud yourself for being here today, because this is a big deal. So I can tell this is something that will make you stand out. And personal development is something that I also want you to think about as well. And as a takeaway, be your own CEO, your own Chief Evolution Officer. Coming all the way from deep rural Prospect, it's been quite the journey, but I didn't allow any of that to stop me. When I didn't have the money, I still held on to that big vision, and you can do it too. So for your upgrade, do the work, show your worth. So you're here today for those of you who are going back to your organizations, and let they show the improvement from today's session. And of course, move with purpose. Now, there is stillness in strategy. Stillness is my strategy. So what I want you to remember today, with all the excitement, there's Christmas coming around the corner, there's lots of stuff happening. But please take your time and figure out what it is that I want. What's my dream? Where can I go? And who can I talk to? And a lot of times, getting still is how you will get there. Please feel free to connect with me. I will be answering questions, and I'll be here for the rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Kimesha Walters, ladies and gentlemen.